Hello.
Sorry.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good
Well, how are you?
Good.
morning. Haven't heard from you in a while.
I'm seeing you look wonderful. Lady in pink.
Oh, please. My favorite color. Oh, Mayor Santos,
I'm here.
anybody signing up to speak today?
We have two who sent me written notice that they wish to speak during the non-agenda portion of the meeting.
Wow, thank you.
So we have two, just two. And on agenda, they don't have to sign up, so we won't know until we ask them to raise their hands.
I just heard great news from Ron Edwards that we have 0 cases of COVID at the jail.
It's great. It's probably the first time in a very long time.
Huh?
That's probably the first time in a long time.
Yeah. So with that, whew.
Good afternoon, Gary. It's Patty McCarthy.
Hi, Patrick, how are you?
I am doing well. It's nice to see the sun out and the snow melting.
Yes,
All good.
that dirty snow, boy.
I think we're going to get rid of a lot of it.
Black garbage. Oh,
I think we're going to get rid of a lot of it this weekend. We're going to have
Yes.
50 weather and maybe some rain. So
yes, yes, yes,
rain and warm weather, and hopefully we can get rid of it all.
right. You know, it's sad in a way because it's so pretty coming down. And
It's always pretty coming down, and it's pretty when it's out there. But
yeah,
it's not. You got to walk or drive or park your car or go to the store. You know how that is.
yeah, especially, you know, busy areas, you know.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Oh, boy. How's Tom doing anyway? Good?
Tom's doing fine. Yep. Tom's doing well.
Great.
Yep, he's feeling fine.
That's good. I haven't talked to him in a while.
I'll tell him you were asking for him.
Yeah, tell him hello, yes.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Afternoon.
Two. No baby this time, Ed?
She's having a little snack right now.
Okay.
As soon as she sees the computer, she runs right over here.
Have a quorum yet?
We have a quorum, yes.
One, two, only four? Okay.
We have one, well,
3, 4, 5. We got a quorum. Let's start.
Commissioner Pont. Begin taking the roll.
Hold on, wait. Is Walker on? All right, Walker's on. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, clerk.
Commissioner Pontilivski,
Here.
Sedania,
Here.
Sefeli, Lopez, O'Day,
Here.
Rodriguez,
Here,
Romano,
Here.
Walker,
Here.
Chair Beneri.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And please remain standing for a moment of silence after that. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance.
allegiance to the flag of the United
United
States
States of America,
and to
and
the
to the
republic for
republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Commissioner Walker.
Yes, just want to bring to your attention, Siobhan Jeffney. She was a longtime officer for the surveillance center. She was also with the juvenile detention. She was a wonderful lady for the community. We lost her last night, so we just want to do a moment of silence for her. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as follows. Posting notice of resolution 10-1-2021, the Commissioners Bulletin Board, First Floor Administration Building Annex, Jersey City, New Jersey. Copies of the above mentioned resolution have been sent to the county clerk and the editors of the Jersey Journal and the Star Ledger. In addition, the following notice was advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act due to the state of emergency. The regular meeting, of the Hudson County Board of County Commissioners, scheduled for Thursday, February 25, 2021 at 4 p.m. will be conducted by the Zoom virtual meeting service at the scheduled date and time. The Commissioners' chamber shall be closed to the public. The meeting identifier was advertised as well as a telephone number. So all the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been met. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the following meetings? Caucus meeting January 26, 2021, and regular meeting January 28, 2021.
Motion.
Second,
Daniel Romano, please.
Commissioner Pontilivski,
Aye.
Sedaniel,
Yes.
Felton, Co-President.
Yes.
O'Day. Yes. Rodriguez,
yes,
Romano,
yes,
Walker,
Yes.
Chairperson Veneri.
Yes.
The next order of business is additional discussion on today's agenda.
Administrator.
Chairman, I have no further items.
Thank you. Commissioners. Seeing none.
yeah, Mr. Chair.
We hold a question around Romano. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, just, I think I say this on behalf of the board. We've received nothing but compliments about the giving of the vaccines out at the juvenile center. So I think a thank you should be extended to the HCIA and their staff, Norman, to the Sheriff's Department, which is doing a great job, carrying the wiki and all our staff. So, I mean, to know that it's so organized and done in a professional manner is especially during these rough times, I think makes us all feel better. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? Commissioner O'Day, the resolution that you wanted today, we asked to be held over for 2 weeks to more people to get to read it, to be adjusted to it, and also the college. I was talking to Nick Chevrolet before, he couldn't be on, and we all, I think, agreed to hold it over 2 weeks. Do you want to say anything, Commissioner O'Day, about?
I mean, it's an important issue. Obviously, Mayor Fulop is putting similar or like language in other RFPs the city's putting out on properties that they have, and the language you're asking for is consistent, quite frankly, with a bill that Assemblyman Chevroletti was actually a sponsor of, related to incentives from the state for residential and economic development programs, but obviously 2 weeks is fine, so everyone can read it. Just happy it'll be on the next agenda.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else? If not, Mr. Clerk, roll call? Or I mean, a public portion on agenda items.
Commissioner Lopez is now present. Does he wish to vote on the minutes?
Yes, aye.
Okay, thank you. According to policy set by the Board of County Commissioners, members of the public are asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes when discussing agenda items and 3 minutes at the conclusion of the meeting when discussing matters of public interest for those who submitted a request in writing to my office to speak on matters of public interest. At this time, the public may address the board on any item on the agenda only. Please keep your comments limited to 5 minutes. Please use the raise your hand icon. Are there any speakers on agenda items only? I don't see any raised hands. Let's give it a few seconds. I don't see any raised hands, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Roll call, please.
Since Commissioner Cifelli is not here, we need to replace his sponsorships. He was the sponsor of number 9 and number 28.
I'll take him, Lopez.
You'll take, let me just make sure that they, 9, 28, and 13. So those all work. And he was the second on 6, 12, 6 and 12.
I'll take them.
Who said he?
Romano?
Romano? Okay. Romano. 12 was sponsored by Romano, so we need somebody else.
I'll take it.
Veneri. May I have a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Rodriguez, Walker.
On the consent agenda, Commissioner Ponte-Lipsky,
Aye.
Daniel,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
O'Day,
Staying on 26, I don't know.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Romano,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Chairperson Veneri.
Yes.
We have one ordinance for introduction. It's entitled Ordinance Rescinding Ordinance Number 104-2-2013 and amending Chapter 200, Article 8.11 of the Administrative Code to eliminate a reserved handicap parking space at 1265 John F. Kennedy Boulevard in the city of Bayonne for Richard Zbazinski. On introduction, Commissioner Ponte-Lipsky,
Aye.
Daniel,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
O'Day, Commissioner O'Day,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Romano,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Chairman Veneri.
Yes.
We have 2 ordinances for second reading and public hearing. The first is entitled Ordinance Rescinding Ordinance Number 555-9-2019 and amending Chapter 200, Article 8.11 of the Administrative Code to eliminate a reserved handicap parking space at 774 John F. Kennedy Boulevard in the city of Bayonne for Camille Giordano. This is the time fixed for public hearing. This ordinance is introduced at the meeting of February 11, 2021. Advertised as required by law together with a notice of hearing for this time. It has been posted on the County Commissioners Bulletin Board and made available to the general public. Are there any speakers on this ordinance? Please raise your hand. I see a raised hand. Is it for this ordinance from Sharonda Walker? Or is that unintentional? Okay, I don't see any raised hands. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Seconded by Rodriguez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing is closed. On final adoption, Commissioner Pontilivski,
Aye.
Sedano,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
O'Day,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
yes,
Romano,
yes,
Walker,
Yes.
Chairman Veneri.
yes,
Ordinance is adopted. Second ordinance for second reading is entitled Ordinance Amending Chapter 200, Article 8.11 of the Administrative Code to establish a reserved handicap parking space on John F. Kennedy Boulevard, Jersey City for Semyon M. This is the time fixed for public hearing of this ordinance, which is introduced at the meeting of February 11, 2021. Advertised as required by law, together with a notice of hearing for this time. It has been posted on the County Commissioners Bulletin Board and made available to the general public. Are there any speakers on this ordinance? Please use the raise your hand icon. I do not see any raised hands. A motion to close the hearing is in order.
motion,
Second.
Veneri, Walker,
yes,
all in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing is closed on final adoption. Commissioner Pontilivski,
Aye.
Sedano,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Day,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
yes,
Romano,
yes,
Walker,
Yes.
Chairperson Veneri.
yes.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the items of business on today's agenda. Are there any comments from the commissioners on the business of the board?
Any comments from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I just, on 18A, I need to just change my vote to an abstention.
Mr. Clerk, you're for that?
Yes, Mr. Flores, is that okay to do?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so 26 and 18A will be abstentions. Is that correct, Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and do the same for me.
18A, Commissioner Lopez?
Yes, sir.
And me too.
Who's the third?
Walker.
Commissioner Cefali's on.
Yes,
Well, be careful what you're saying yes to first.
well, I'm on and I want to record my votes.
Yes, so, Mr. Clerk,
Okay, on the consent agenda, Commissioner.
Yes, I am as to all. Yes,
On ordinance for introduction, I1.
yes,
On ordinance for adoption, A1.
yes,
On ordinance for adoption, A2.
yes,
On the minutes of January 26 caucus and January 28, 2021 regular meetings.
I as to all.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Are there any additional comments from the commissioners on the business of the board?
seeing none, you can move on, sir.
Are there any comments from the Deputy Chief of Staff to the County Executive?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy.
This is the time for speakers who have submitted a request in writing within the provided time to my office to address the board on any matter of public interest. Please remember to limit your comments to 3 minutes. I have Sal Austin. Please raise your hand, Mr. Austin, so I can enable you to talk. Mr. Austin, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Austin, you're on. You got 3 minutes.
Okay. I actually would like to pass this to my partner, Marco Paris, who's also on the line, because he was the one that actually did the actual detailed sales proposal.
I can enable Mr. Paris to talk, Mr. Chair.
I get Mr. Florio, should he have 3 minutes and the other guy 3 minutes? I don't know.
Well, what I don't know is if they're both speaking contemporaneously, or is Mr. Austin yielding his time to the other speaker?
That's what I want to know.
Yes, sir. I'm actually going to yield my time to the speaker, Mr. Paris. Thank you.
Okay, so you're
Then
off.
Mr. Paris gets a fresh 3 minutes.
Right. Thank you, Sal. You have to be muted, Sal. You have to take Sal off.
Mute, and the other gentleman has to raise his hand.
The other gentleman has raised his hand because Mark is using it. Okay, Mr. Davis is using an older version of Zoom, so I will temporarily promote him to panelist.
Is it a new version already?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for accommodating in terms of the technical setup here. I appreciate the time to speak to the panel today. I am here to try to provide an account for DGX's experience in interacting with the Hudson County Courthouse project. We have submitted a couple of proposals. The first one was to meet the county's request to use a manufacturer of cameras called EarthCam. We submitted that quote over to the CGs, and we are discussing in terms of final design on that, whether it be 2 cameras or 4 cameras. We also submitted a site security proposal, which encompasses everything from burglar alarm, intrusion detection, all tied into the camera system. So we're here today to, I guess, express our views on the challenges that we've had in interacting with the CGs. There has been very much lack of communication on their end, and we're finding it very difficult to get in touch with the right folks to get the proposal submitted appropriately. We've had site visits established. There might be need for additional services such as Wi-Fi, but we find that there's a disconnect between upper management and the folks are actually on the ground. So we're seeking guidance from commissioners as to how to go about this. We are in active communications with the CGs and trying to resolve this on our own, but we'd just like to bring it to your attention as this has been delayed and we've invested a lot of time already into this project.
Chairman?
Ed, Commissioner O'Day.
The cameras to be installed at the construction site, is it accurate to say that prior to the submittal by the, I call it the DB because of the design builder, who was awarded the contract, that they in fact corresponded with you and listed you as one of the Hudson County minority vendors for that particular item?
Commissioner O'Day, that is correct. We were contacted. We have calendar invites that are in our schedules that we were supposed to be part of that conversation ongoing. We actually hedged our bets and we submitted our proposal with all 3 submitters, not just the terminal. We did with Germain and Peter Terwin as well.
Which is fine, but again, having served on that committee, I distinctly remember that your firm was listed in the one that was awarded the contract as the vendor that was going to be used for that particular purchase as part of their requirement pursuant to the agreement in the RFP for the local minority.
That is correct, but that did not happen, Commissioner O'Day. What we found out recently is that they went ahead and they purchased the cameras from somewhere else. So we're trying to do our due diligence and resolve it on our end, but that's part of the complaint that we are bringing up.
So I'm glad that you're putting it on the record. We had somewhat of an extensive discussion with this on Tuesday. Sal had sent an email last Friday. We've gotten no information from the DB, but I do know, having speaking to Glenn Scotland about a different item yesterday, that the attorney for the Improvement Authority, Leslie London, on this matter, has been speaking to the attorney for Terminal, which is the DB. Now, I'm not suggesting, because you shouldn't be spending money on an attorney, but I would hope that the administration and the Improvement Authority make sure that this matter is resolved appropriately, and that the DB is required to abide by that upon which they represented in order to be selected as the entity to do this work. So I don't know if there's anyone from the Improvement Authority that's on the line that can give us an update, because quite frankly, Tuesday, which I found a little bit embarrassing, they couldn't even tell us, no one could tell us even the name of who the entity is who supposedly got or is getting the contract. So I don't know if there's anyone on the line.
Yes, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner O'Day, this is Mike O'Connor from the Hudson County Improvement Authority. I did participate in the caucus. I briefly addressed this along with our professional team from SRL. That would be William Miller and Romaine Lewis. And William Miller, I believe, is logged in. And I'd ask that the clerk, subject to the chairman, enable William also to address this issue.
Mr. Chair, should I enable Mr. William?
Yeah.
Mr. Miller, excuse me.
Yeah, William Miller. Well, and thank you. I just want to say something briefly about this, and I'll turn it over to William, who can speak in some detail. I stated. Give me a buzz back. 201-9547. Oh, okay. Sorry, I got some feedback there. I said categorically on Tuesday that the Improvement Authority is fully committed to ensure that Terminal, the design builder, meets its obligations in full under our contract, and specifically regarding the utilization plan for MWBE, for inclusion of MWBE small businesses. We refer to it as that whole grouping as XBE, certified businesses, and not only to meet the goals, but to exceed them. And that commitment remains. So I'd really like to stress that. In regard to our contract, I believe our contract, and we've reviewed this with Leslie, our contract absolutely provides us with the ability to ensure that Terminal fulfills its obligations, and we will make sure that occurs. And I believe that, and that includes the inclusion on the utilization list of the company that's being discussed today.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I'm getting the impression and that there's obviously been an error made, perhaps by the GC, with respect to the exclusion of this particular contractor. What Mr. O'Connor has just said is that the Improvement Authority, through its attorneys, Mr. Scotland's office, assures us that they will get to the bottom of this and remedy the situation. So I just think it's difficult for us in a public meeting to negotiate or to cobble together the appropriate remedy and kind of drill down to what exactly happened and get to a remedy. I would suggest that we defer this item. It sounds like the appropriate people have their arms around it on our side and the Improvement Authority and the contractor, and hopefully the GC. The problem that I'm getting is from Tuesday and today is I'm kind of getting lost in the high grass here. I think the attorneys need to work this out. I agree with Freeholder O'Day that I don't know that it's fair to impose the obligation to retain counsel on who to me seems at this point to be the aggrieved party. That's the gentleman, Mr. Paris. So I would just say that we could go ring around the rosy with this in a public meeting, but I think really it needs to be there needs to be a sit down with the parties and let them hash this out, and hopefully there will be a satisfactory to everybody, a satisfactory remedy. Of course, the aggrieved contractor always has his rights, and we as a body, we have the rights to step in and protect ourselves, because it's really, we're the parties to the contract as the county. And I just think it gets a little convoluted when we start discussing all this in a public meeting. We kind of get off the beaten path. I think everybody's got their arms around this. Let's just get it done. Sounds like somebody had a hiccup here, a misstep. Let's correct it, and let's make sure it doesn't happen again, because the GC owes us an obligation to comply with the contract in this respect. So, and this is hopefully just an aberration. So, but again, to keep going through it at a public meeting, I don't know that it serves the party's interests. I think parties have a certain financial interest in this, and that has to be taken care of. So let's see if they can get together with the Improvement Authority and Mr. Scotland, the contractor, the GC, and go from there.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, Al, Mr. Chairman, the only question, I just have one question. I guess it's two parts. Have the Improvement Authority and the consultant determined whether or not the GC has actually executed a contract for this? And if so, what the entity is they executed the contract is? I have no other questions beyond.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Mike O'Connor. I think William is enabled, William Miller, who's working with the authority directly, with SRL. He's fully apprised of the situation, and I always agree with the good legal advice and interpretations of Commissioner Cifelli, but in this case, Mr. Commissioner O'Day, we're prepared to respond and to explain, our engagement with DGX or DXG. I believe that's primarily been with Mr. Austin. I don't know the other gentleman. I haven't seen his name.
But Mike, I don't think that answers Commissioner O'Day's question.
Well,
I can respond on behalf of the question.
and William's ready to respond.
Yes, good evening, commissioners. Very briefly.
Commissioner Mano, please take over the meeting. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Very quickly, I'll summarize. Yes, the question was, has the contract been awarded to another supplier? Yes. Work Zone Cam is a company that a contract was awarded to. However, as of this morning, Monday, Terminal met with DGX Security and provided opportunities. This morning provided an opportunity to purchase 3 additional cameras, furnish, install, and monitor for exactly $100K, which was the original value. Terminal is prepared to execute a contract with DGX Security for the $100,000 contract as soon as they provide a proposal. So the corrective action has been made. The other work cam have already provided 3 cameras. DGX Security will provide 3 cameras. There is no other corrective action required upon submittal of a proposal by DGX Security.
Well, I have that's all well and good, and if the aggrieved contractor that's participating today is satisfied with that result, that's wonderful. I would just imagine that there's not going to be a change order to the county that's going to cost us more money.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Am I correct in that assumption?
You are correct. There shall be no change orders to the county. This is something that Terminal realized. It was an error on their behalf,
and I
they
think
corrected the error.
That was my point in my comments before. I think reasonable people can get together and resolve this in a reasonable way. I don't think we need to. Sometimes things get done quicker outside of the public meetings. They'll get done reasonably with the interested parties, and they'll come back to us and we'll ratify them. Or as long as everybody's happy with it and the taxpayers are not hurt, we're okay.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor and Mr. Miller. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just so the record, I agree with Commissioner Cifelli, but it never hurts to at least shine a bright light on the issue at a public meeting to get the attention of those whose job it is to resolve the problems.
Bill, I totally agree with you. And you've done that on Tuesday, and you did it today again, which I commend you for. But I think at this point, I think because of your attention to this and the aggrieved contractors' attention to it, I think we're heading down the right path here, and I think we can get to a good result. But but I think more to the point is that this could be just, I don't want to say the tip of the iceberg, but I just want to make sure that this is just an aberration in this contract. It's a huge contract, and this is a thing that could recur over and over again. Let's nip it in the bud. Let's get the GC. Let's get our consultant on board, so we don't have this problem in the future with any other subs.
Amen.
Thank you, Al.
To the chair.
Go ahead.
Just real quick, My only concern here is, no, I agree with what my colleagues to say. My only concern here is, given the fact that they're not going to do a change order, is it going to be the same value?
He just said it was. He just said it was the same, $100,000 corrective action.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to speak at this moment, but there
No.
are some inaccuracies in those statements.
Well,
Mr. Chair, should I allow Mr. Paris to speak again?
how much time is on?
This is what I mean.
Time out, time out,
I'm
time out.
just-
Mr. Clerk Santos, has the speaker had his 3 minutes?
He has.
Okay, then we'll go offline with the committee. There's a committee, correct, dealing with this? Abe?
Yes, that's all.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure which committee this would be referred to. I'm assuming it would be contracts, but that's not my call.
Okay, Mr. Paris, we're gonna go, when you address the clerk, if you have his number, give your information to him, and let's get the proper people getting back into touch with you, whether it be Michael O'Connor or Bill O'Day as chair of the committee with regards to the new courthouse.
Thank you, Mr. Ramon.
Right, and commissioners, again, the authorities here, and I don't want to belabor this, but
No, we got
we're
it.
ready and prepared to answer any questions now or at any time about this.
Michael, give your information to Mr. Paris too, please. Make sure he
Yes,
has
he
it.
has it. Mr. Austin actually has all our information. SRL has been engaged with Mr. Austin, along with the county's Office of Opportunity since December. We've had multiple interactions with Mr. Austin, not the other fellow. I don't know him. In
All right,
fact,
that's all right.
I'd just like to say this for the record further. The business location, the headquarters of the business location that we have is actually 840 Bergen Avenue. I'm speaking to you from 830 Bergen Avenue, the headquarters of the authority. For the last week, I've gone over, knocked on the doors, just to check, see if somebody was there, so we could have maybe an informal discussion. Wasn't able to find anybody there. We are ready, willing, and able, and have engaged in this. And I think we have a very good story to tell, not just about this issue, but going forward on our larger approach and commitment to make sure that that this project meets and exceeds the inclusion.
Michael, we got the message. Action.
Got it. Thank you, Commissioner.
We got it. Let's just get it done. All right, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
The other speaker who signed up was Ileana Little. So Ms. Little, raise your hand so I can find you on the participants list. I have a raised hand from PDHC administrator. Is this Ms. Little?
Oh, yes, sorry, I must have forgotten to switch my Zoom account back to my personal. Sorry about that. This is Elena Little. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm just calling based on a report I read in the Jersey Journal this weekend about the vaccination site in Kearney. I already emailed with my commissioner about this, but I do also just want to make a comment in the public record. So what the Jersey Journal news report found that there's some pretty severe racial disparities in who is getting vaccinated at this Kearney site. Overall, the operation seems to be very smooth. People are able to get appointments there, unlike, some other locations. But, and I'm just going to read directly from the article now. While Hispanic residents make up nearly 43% of Hudson County's population, they comprise only 18.5% of the people who have been vaccinated at the county's USS Juneau Memorial Center in South Kearney. Black residents make up just under 15% of the county population, but represent less than 3% of those vaccinated there. And then the article went on to identify the fact that only people in cars are able to be vaccinated at this site. It's only set up to be a drive-through vaccination site. And so I'm just, calling to make a comment on that and see what other options may be available or that the county may be pursuing. So we know that 25% of Hudson County residents live in a household without a car. And we also know that people of color are more likely to be essential workers. According to the Regional Plan Association, as many as 3/4 of local bus riders in New Jersey are essential workers, the majority making under 30,000 per year. And in Jersey City, people of color are 16% more likely to live in a household without a car. So, given the diversity of our county, given how, we're not a county like Hunterdon County where, it's rural, everyone drives everywhere. I really hope the county can look into, either providing an option for people to be vaccinated not in cars. So whether that's pedestrians, whether they get a ride and are dropped off and are then picked up later, whether they take the bus there, you shouldn't have to be in a car to be vaccinated, number one. Number two, either setting up a site more centrally located and closer to transit hubs, or providing shuttles from major transit hubs like Journal Square, for example. A lot of bus lines go through Journal Square. It's easy for people to get to. Maybe the county could say, okay, on Fridays we are doing vaccinations of people not in cars. We will provide a shuttle to and from Journal Square, something like that. Jersey City has also partnered with Uber to provide rides to its municipal run.
Chairman, 3 minutes are up.
Okay.
So I would like a response to see if, any of that is being looked into or if it could be. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Next speak. Yes, go ahead, Mr. O'Day.
Two points. One, I know we've had a lot of discussion about this, and some of this I think falls on the state, because I've spoken both to Mayor Fulop and folks in the county. We requested that the Jersey City Armory be allowed to be a site, and the state has yet to approve that. So I think that if that was approved as a site, even 1 day a week, that has a huge capacity assuming we get enough vaccinations to administer them, to do walk-ins. It's close enough to Journal Square for individuals to be able to access it. I think the other answer to the question is making sure that those that the county is working to give to the cities, like Jersey City has the one at the Bassoon Center. Alliance has one. I believe they're operating close to the Grove Street station. They do have a location near Journal Square, but if part of the problem is that individuals are not aware of that, and it's having a chilling effect on people even looking to register to get the vaccination because they think that you only have an option to go out and drive to Kearney, that we really need to make sure that we are getting a message out really clear, not just waiting for somebody to go online or register, but using, Black churches, Hispanic churches, media markets within those communities, so they understand that there are many other physical locations that individuals can go sign up for.
What, Mr. Chairman, I understand that the accessibility is probably the single biggest problem with the urban populations. I'm sorry if I'm ignorant as to this, but when I listen to national news, I hear that the chain pharmacies, the Walgreens and the CVSs of the world, are going to be sites. Where are we in that process, and are there any in Hudson County, any of those chains that are in the vaccine distribution network? I mean, that I hear that on the national news, but it's a communication problem. I don't know if any of those sites are operating in Hudson County.
Well, I could speak for CVS. CVS, I know, is saying that the shots will be coming soon because I received a few vaccinations there, but they hadn't gotten the COVID yet, but they said the COVID would be coming shortly. I would guess we'd have to ask Carrie Nowicki, Mr. Clerk, or Abe, if we could just ask Carrie if there's any possibility of finding out if CVS or Walgreens are going to be getting the vaccination soon. And if we can also publicize all the sites throughout the county. As Pat McCarthy said last meeting, there was different, I think, 6 sites throughout Jersey City, if we can do that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if Dave Al, is Dave available?
Yes. Dave
Can
is-
can you unmute Dave Drummer,
Yes.
please?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here. Chairman, we can tell you that we are actually, after Tuesday's meeting, we're working on a couple different ways to get the message out with regard to the other facilities. We can also tell you that we've been in discussions with the state and they have approved Jersey City for 2 pop-ups to help in some of the targeted areas of Jersey City. And the city's working through that with the state presently, and probably is going to issue an announcement on that sometime soon, because that will be coming probably in the next 2 weeks. As far as the chain pharmacies, the state is handling that by themselves and has not involved us in that loop. To the extent we do know where they're going to be coming, we'll keep adding those to the list as we get them from the state's website, but we are not in direct chain of both information nor the vaccine chain to know where the supply is coming as far as the chain pharmacies at this point.
Dave, 2 quick things. Could you follow up with what Commissioner O'Day requested as far as anything with the armory? And
we've brought that up with the state, and right now they're not in the position to open any more mega sites at this point with vaccine supply being as low as it is. As I said on Tuesday, the real issue right now is, we have a lot of sites around there with excess capacity, including Jersey City, and we just need more vaccines coming into the county so that we can utilize the spare capacity we have now to get those out to folks. And I think that will just by itself help a lot, because there'll be a lot more options that are open a lot more in order to get appointments around. But right now, I believe this week's allocation to the whole countywide, all of our partners was 5,500 doses.
Dave, can you ensure that all the commissioners are via email, can give them a list of all the sites throughout the county, and so this way that the commissioners know if someone calls to refer?
Absolutely. We send that out every Friday, and we're after Tuesday's meeting, we'll make sure that that list gets out to all the commissioners. Okay.
Yeah.
You okay? Okay. Next speaker, Mr.
I have another question.
Go ahead, Bill.
Just 2 things for the record. We really need to be able to track these pharmacies, like other parts of the state. They're active. Just out here in my day job in Elizabeth, we adjoin a building with senior citizens that's owned and operated by the housing authority out here. They've already gone in through, I believe it was CVS, and vaccinated 2 vaccinations for the residents that live in that building. So if it's happening here, why isn't it happening in Hudson County? I mean, that's a red flag that we should be waving very high in the air and drawing as much attention to it as we possibly can. And the other observation is at 5,500 doses a week, it would take 2 years probably to vaccinate the entire population of Hudson County.
Yeah, that is
630 by 5,500. I think that takes you to 120 weeks. So Houston, we got a problem. We got a major problem.
Bill, that's a very good observation. One of the things that I would say is, and I try to listen to this stuff, but that just today, I think it's projected or estimated that J&J's single-dose vaccine will clear FDA emergency status maybe in the next 10 to 14 days. Hopefully, that will add many more volume of doses into the the pool. And secondly, it'll eliminate the need for a second dose. But that's in the pipeline. That's not here. So you're correct. I
You're
guess
about 2 months out.
My question though is your comment about the Elizabeth experience with CVS. So am I correct in understanding that the chain, what's the synergy between the CVS location and the senior citizens? Is there some direct contact between the state and CVS that the state is making the dosage available to CVS, or is going to some other agency with the seniors and just the administration of the actual inoculation, the physical inoculation of it is being undertaken by CVS separately? I'm confused. Who's getting the dosages through what route? Because if CVS is getting the doses in Union County, but the CVS's and the Walgreens of Hudson County aren't, then there's a problem, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to get clarification and I'll get you guys an email. I'll check with the housing authority.
Okay.
But as it was explained to me, the housing authority got CVS to come in and administer the vaccination.
But that presupposes that CVS, independent of the housing authority or the senior authority or whatever, gets a direct pipeline of the vaccines. And that's a private entity. If they're getting a supply of vaccines and the CVS's of Hudson are not, or the Walgreens of Hudson are not getting the same allocation, there's a disconnect there.
Well, I'm going to talk to the operators of the Hoboken Walgreens and find out a date and how they get them. And I'll call you back.
If I could just interject in between, because we're actually talking about two separate things and two separate ways that the vaccines get distributed through large pharmacies. One is at a retail point, meaning people go to the pharmacies and the pharmacies are set up to accept people to get vaccines. And then there's a separate program that utilizes CVS and Walgreens for senior living, as Commissioner O'Day indicated. Those particular areas are done with the housing authority reaching out to the state, filling out some paperwork, which some of our local housing authorities have done. And I believe they've done one building in Bayonne and another building in, I want to say it's West Hudson. I just don't have it off the top of my head. And many of our buildings are on the list to get that done. Again, the supply side is the problem, where CVS doesn't have the supply to do, everybody's in the queue, but they are not presently
capable
out
of handling
in the field. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
But Dave, just to note that, you're saying one building in Bayonne, one building in West Hudson. Jersey
that I know of off the top of my head.
Jersey City alone, I know, has at least 8 or 9 of those buildings, and
sure,
none of them may have been done yet. That's really concerning to me of how this process takes place. And some of those senior buildings are not run through housing authorities, but actually are run through other entities. So if those
we agree that the delay is very disconcerting.
I mean, well, I think I think we got an obligation to try to look into this and see how we can address this, because that's like here, they were in January. I can tell you the day they were here. They were here January 18th, which was a Martin Luther King Day. I happened to be in the office. They actually had extra doses in the 2 employees here that fit into the 1A category, and they were both able to get vaccinated, and then they both got the second vaccination like February 10th or 11th. So, I mean, if we're behind the curve on it, or the state's behind the curve on it, we need to understand it, and we need to raise attention to it. We have state legislators, whatever we need to do, because if we've only got 2 buildings in our whole county that have got all the people vaccinated, we got a really serious problem.
And Commissioner, I don't know whether we have only 2 buildings. Those are the 2 that I know of off the top of my head.
All right. Thank you, David. All right. Next speaker, Mr. Santos.
Chair, there were only 2 persons who signed up to speak, so there are no additional speakers.
All right, want to check, Richie? Make sure nobody's out there?
Oh, we don't do the raise your hand. You have to submit a written request.
Okay.
Change the rule.
Okay, anything from any of the commissioners? A motion to close the meeting?
Motion to adjourn is in order.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Kenny Kopaz, give me a call. I have a message for you from a constituent. They didn't have your number.
Meeting is adjourned.
Hey, Al Cifelli.
Yes.
Sal Austin sent a text